Hello, welcome back to the YouTube channel of Bethel Evangelical Free Church Hanley. I'm Pastor Gervais Charmley. This is another video in the series on Derbyshire churches, and this is the Church of St Bartholomew, Hognaston. Now, there's been a church here since the 12th century, and quite a lot of that 12th century church survived until 1879. They had a very gung-ho vicar then, a man called Thomas O'Grady, so Irishman, and he was relatively wealthy, and he decided that the little old medieval church was getting a bit past it, and so pull it all down apart from the tower and build a great big Victorian Gothic extravaganza. Well, it's not that big because Hognaston isn't that huge a village, and not too tall either, but nevertheless it is basically a Victorian church that has been attached to an existing medieval tower. Here we have perhaps the horrors of the Victorian era at their worst. Not quite their worst, but in terms of Victorian restoration, this isn't a restoration, this is, let's just knock it all down and start all over again. So let's have a look around and we can admire this, I say admire as much as possible at this building, and see some of the few relics that survive of what was here before Mr. O'Grady struck. So as usual, we start at the west end, and you can see, okay, the roof line isn't one of these big tall ones with loads and loads of space above, so we have got a reasonable roof line. Pews are not straight out of a pattern book. They are pews that come from, they are pews that have been made for the church, one suspects. There's a north aisle arcade, fairly typical 19th century type. Let's improve on the Normans, which you don't want to do. The font, thankfully, we have the Norman font bowl. It's a nice tub on a 19th century base. There's a screen at the base of the tower, but this arch itself is 14th century by the look of it. The north aisle is now a sort of side chapel and meeting room. It contains Mr. O'Grady's memorial. Pulpit is one of those awful florid stone ones, not very attractive, to put it mildly. And the chancel is, of course, Victorian Gothic. You're trying to just emphasise this medieval style. Of course, the medieval church like this would never have looked like this. This is trying to imitate one of the big town city churches. Bit of alabaster in the reredos, choir stalls. There's not a lot of memorials except to, there's a few to vicars. So we have here Ralph Woodward, vicar of this parish, 1908 to 1923. The souls of righteous are in the hand of God. Now that is not a quote from the canonical books of the Bible. It's a quote from the Apocrypha, which suggests an Anglo-Catholic tendency, which everything else around here does as well. Nice oil lamp there. It's been converted to electricity, which is helpful. We've got these brass candlesticks, brass lectern, more brass candlesticks. The organ is single manual with a pedal board and 8 stops. Obviously nothing of this building is original, apart from the tower. And we've got Sedilia and Piscina in imitation of the medieval period. These windows are incised with emblems of the Passion, and the east window is 20th century St Bartholomew and St Joseph flanking the crucifixion. And now we're very much in the pre-Raphaelite. Let's get away from Victorian sentimentalism. So this is quite late. the vestry behind this screen here, and it's all screened off, of course, because, well, here's the vestry, and we've got the arcade at the end. Of course, this is an aisle here. This is at the end of the aisle. We've got this space behind the organ, really, but originally this is just the aisle. There might have been an altar here with a, but there we are. So that's inside at St Bartholomew's, Hognaston. Not very interesting, I say, because you've just got this Victorian knock everything down and build a brand new church approach. But there we are. I'll try not to be too rude about it. It's, on the positive side, it isn't one of these soaring buildings that's impossible to heat. It's still a reasonable size, and the aisle means that they've been able to screen off that area so it can be heated individually, separately. It's rather, using the New English Bible, which of course is not new at all, 1960s, very strange thing, the New English Bible. C.H. Dodd was the leading light on it, and C.H. Dodd had this view that, well, he had a number of odd views about the Bible, and it was translated by scholars who were chosen for scholarly ability alone, and it shows. Certainly not good English. There we are, claw and ball feet on the lectern, which is always slightly strange. So there we are inside at Hognaston. Let's have a look around the outside, and we'll see also the great treasure of the building, which is actually the south doorway. This is the great treasure of Hognaston. It's the south doorway, and you can see here you've got this wonderful Norman tympanum with Christ as the Good Shepherd in the middle. We also have over on the left-hand side, looking at it, and now you have the Lamb of God, the Lamb with a cross above. There's a hog, Hognaston after all. There's a head up there. Nice bit of dogtooth moulding, nice Norman capital there. Use of different coloured stone. And the door itself is also clearly quite ancient. So, there's a few beak heads down there. Interesting use of beak heads. So it's quite an interesting doorway here. And it is the most interesting part of the church, in the opinion of just about everybody. And so here we are outside at Hognaston, and yes, I am crouching down in order to get in the camera, because what we need to see here is we've got the medieval tower, and this is a nice solid piece of work, perhaps 15th century at the top and earlier lower down, and everything else is Victorian, but we've got this chancel nave and this porch protecting that wonderful tympanum. So let's have a look around the outside, and I can stop doing awful things to my knees. And so here we have the outside at Hognaston. Now, the church, obviously, because of the tower, obviously at least part of it covers the footprint of the previous building. I suspect the previous building was smaller, at least shorter than this. There's no mark of an earlier roof line, again suggesting that is a 15th century tower. Certainly those square-headed windows suggest that the belfry stage is, but the belfry stage may very well be later than the stage below, which may be 13th century. So, carry on around here, being careful not to trip over things or step on the snowdrops, because that makes you immensely unpopular if you visit a church and step on their snowdrops. You see there we have the chancel and the vestry. Now, I've got a big graveyard here. You can just see in the distance there, Carsington Water. That's a reservoir. It's an artificial lake, not a natural one. And we're quite high up here, on top of a hill, as we'll see as we come over here again, not stepping on the snowdrops. There's a wonderful array of them here. So I'll just pan over there. Snowdrops in great abundance. And here we are at the West End. And here we have a memorial to Anne Robinson, who died January the 29th, 1872, aged 80, Fear not, I am with thee. O be not dismayed, for I am thy God. I will strengthen thee, yea, I will help thee, yea, I will uphold thee with the right hand of my righteousness. It's a nice quote from Isaiah there. And around the back again, vestry. You can see that thing on the vestry, that's the chimney for the boiler room in the basement. Which, once again, this is not a theological statement, although the boiler room in the basement is it's quite typical, because you've got to put the boiler room somewhere. Now, where do you put it? Well, you either put it sticking out the side of the church, or you put it in the basement. You can see here just how high we are up in the hills here in the Peak District, and over there, Carsington Water, that ribbon. North aisle here, and you can just see those railings. That's the access to the boiler house, to the boiler room in the basement. And so here we have another memorial. John Wheeldon, who died March 21st, 1860, aged 55 years. Lord, who hast suffered all for me, my peace and pardon to procure. The lighter cross I bear for thee, help me with patience to endure. And very much this rusticated stonework is very typical of the 19th century. It was John Clark, died September 26, 1855, aged 79 years. He was a private in the Coldstream Guards and was engaged in the victorious battles of Aboukir in Egypt on the 8th and 13th of March, and Alexandria on the 21st of March, 1801, under the command of General Sir Ralph Abercrombie. So this is, of course, this is fighting Napoleon in Egypt. And what a contrast between the stonework here of the Victorian bit and the medieval. In fact, the base is another entirely, makes me think, is that an even older base, and then you've got this nice ashlar stonework at the top. You can just see there the open windows and a couple of gargoyles at the top. Gargoyles. And then back around here, they've got a quite helpful handrail. It's quite a steep path up there, and if you're not very steady on your feet, you do want something that will be a nice understated war memorial there. And so up between the pollarded trees and back to the church gate. Yes, there's definitely 3 periods of stonework in that tower. That's interesting. And back to the Victorian porch, and welcome, as well we wish people to be. And so there we have it, St Bartholomew's, Hognaston. Medieval tower with a Victorian church slapped onto it. Some interest. I haven't been too rude about it. It's not the worst, put it that way, damning the faint praise. But there we are. Well, thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed the video and not too tired of my bashing the Victorians. But thank you for watching, and God bless you and keep you until the next one.